Hello friends, welcome to this video. Today we are going to be doing the highly anticipated GeierWing main character video. I was really excited to see how much everybody liked the GeierWing video. I love the tribe anyway just because I was super inspired when I made them and they turned out really cool, but to see that other people think that they're cool too is really awesome. So also, I'm not sure if you're aware, and I have no idea how this happened, but we hit 1,000. 1,000 people like silly little dragon videos. I don't know how it's possible, but it's really cool that there are 1,000 of us who like things like dragons and wings of fire and warriors. These are all the things that like I consider weird things for me to be into, but not necessarily weird, but it's just uncommon. Like no one I know in real life likes dragons and wings of fire and warrior cats like that. So it's really cool to see that there are other people out there who like these things and who can apparently endure my rambling. So I think that's a good segue into the actual video. So yeah, this is our GeierWing character. Her name is Nyx, and she is the reason why the GeierWings and the Scorchwings are at war. What an intro, man. But yes, so to recap, the GeierWings and the Scorchwings are at war because GeierWings need to eat metal to be healthy because their teeth and claws are made out of metal, and I think their bones are too. And sadly, their territory has run out of metal. Not entirely out, there's just a bit of a shortage, so they decide to go looking for metal. Some GeierWings have the special ability to sense metal. Most of these dragons can only sense it from a couple miles or so. Nyx, however, has the ability to sense metal from hundreds of miles away. As you can imagine, this is pretty special, and when Nyx says that she senses large metal deposits hundreds of miles away in the Scorchwing territory, everyone's pretty excited. The amount of metal that is there seems like it could last the entire tribe for, decades. And when they send out their first search party and they realize that the Scorchwings are pacifists, like they're not going to fight back, the tribe celebrates. And Nyx does too. She's proud that she has done something good for her tribe, and she can see the effects pretty soon. In just a few weeks, metal prices drop to reasonable standards. Expecting mothers aren't worried about their eggs breaking anymore. I forgot to mention this, but GeierWing eggs are made out of metal, and so expecting mothers need to eat a lot of metal so they can form the eggshell for their hatchling. So yeah, dragons aren't going metal hungry anymore, which is fantastic. By nature, Nyx is a pretty shy individual. She's kind of seen as the odd one because she's not quite into fighting like everyone else is. The GeierWing culture is very into sparring and fighting and tournaments as celebrating, and it's really a part of their culture. It's like coming of age, it's all those things. But Nyx isn't really a fighter. She enjoys reading and looking at bugs and telling stories. And this makes her pretty strange in GeierWing society. But then when she discovers this metal and basically becomes the savior of her tribe, it's overwhelmingly amazing. Dragons that used to give her weird looks when she walked by now go up to her and try to talk to her and be her friend. The most popular dragonettes in school now want to be her friends. And now dragons are buying copies of her short stories. Her life does a 180. Everyone loves her, and now she's getting invited to things like royal gatherings and celebrations, and she gets to meet the queen of the tribe and all these things. One day, she gets invited to go to the desert to see how the recovery operation is going. Like, to put it in like human terms, it's almost like someone theorized where a massive, fossil find would be, and they published it, and then when people went and looked, there were tons of fossils there. And so they get invited to the dig site to see, their theory come to life, essentially. That's basically what's happening with her. They're inviting her to the desert. Look, this is how it's going. You did all this. So Nyx goes to the desert. She thinks that seeing the operations there are gonna give her that same warm feeling that she sees when a little orphan dragonette comes up to her and says thank you. Or when she sees the relieved look on an expectant mother's face when she goes to the market and sees that metal prices are down. But, that's not what happens when she goes to the desert. When she gets there, the desert is a war zone. The camp is guarded. There are Scorchwing prisoners. She sees members of her own tribe wounded and sick from dehydration and heat stroke. This is like the shock of her life. Nyx goes from, "You're the savior of our tribe," to seeing the devastation that her ability has wrought. This is almost spirit breaking for her, right? I mean, imagine thinking that you did something good and then you realize that people are getting hurt over it. And she's a very empathetic dragon. And so seeing especially the Scorchwing prisoners is just awful for her. Every time I think of her seeing the prisoners for the first time, I feel a pit in my stomach because the shock and despair that I know that she would feel just like makes me also feel that way because it's so intense. This is why I've drawn Nyx in this kind of almost cowering pose, because this is really how she feels once she realizes what she's done. And you and I know, like, she couldn't have known. It's not really all her fault, but she definitely feels like it's all her fault. And all of this, like, death and injuries and devastation that's happening, especially to the Scorchwings, just rests. It's just pretty awful. I know it's kind of funny how I have this excited tone when I'm talking about how horrible she feels, but it's the writer in me that loves internal conflict in a character's mind. I don't know, it's just good. Is it bad that I like her internal conflict? Maybe, but that's just how I feel. This is why I think she is my favorite character of the 3 that I've made so far, just because her internal conflict and that shame she feels is just so strong. I sound like a psychopath, I'm sorry. Anyway, she feels absolutely terrible now, right? So what does she do about it? Well, you know how sometimes in the middle of the night, guards guarding the prisoners like fall asleep sometimes, which, would give someone an opening to let the prisoners go if perhaps they were feeling guilty? You get where I'm going here? Yes, Nyx frees the prisoners and thus begins her treason. It's tough because she still loves her tribe, like that's her family, that's her culture, that's her life, but she can't in good conscience let this go on. So she frees the prisoners and then she runs away, she flies away, just flying without stopping, blindly, until she runs into the sea. And guess who she meets there? See, it all ties together in the end. I'm not entirely sure what happens after that, but thinking about it makes me really excited. Because what I have rolling in my head are the fact that some GeierWings can also control electricity. And I was thinking, if the Tidewing Queen's OP power to put dragons to sleep has something to do with electricity, then Nyx can stop that. So in my head, something is going along where she helps Typhoon, she helps the uprising of the lower class Tidewings against the upper class Tidewings. And since Typhoon leads a band of like mercenary pirates, after that, the mercenary pirates can go back to the desert and help the Scorchwings at least reach an impasse with the GeierWings. If I were to write this story like the Wings of Fire books are written, where each book is a different perspective, I would probably have the first book be Cricket, the Scorchwings perspective of like the war starting. The second book would be Nyx, as the reason why the war started. And then the third book would be Typhoon, perhaps. I'm not too sure. I just know that it would be really cool to have a story about cricket and like, oh, this war started because the GeierWings are greedy, it's so terrible, and then have the perspective of a GeierWing. There's this series called The Demon Cycle by Peter V. Brett where something like that happens, where you have a character in one book and then another book is a character from like the enemy, and it makes you kind of rethink everything. It's really cool because every book is like a new perspective. It's like the first book, oh, these people are evil. Second book, oh, well, it's really his wife that, you know, is convincing him to do this. Third book, oh, his wife is doing this because of these reasons. And like, I love that. I think that's a cool setup of a story. So these are my ideas. Let me know if you guys have your own ideas for how this adventure should turn out. I'm not married to these ideas of how the stories interact with each other and like eventually come full circle. So if you have other ideas, please let me know. I know I planned on making a drawing of a GeierWing and a Scorchwing in battle. I could add a Tidewing to that, and that could be like the final battle once the mercenary Tidewings have joined into the fight. And then in that video, I could kind of explain how everything ends up tying together and what the adventures after this video are. So yeah, let me know if you think that would be cool. And also, again, let me know your ideas because this is more fun for me when I can bounce off of your guys' ideas too. So with that, I hope you enjoyed this one. I really like this character and I hope you guys do too. Her story is much more like in the action than backstory, if that makes sense. So if you guys would like more backstory of her, let me know. And if you have ideas for more backstory of her, also let me know that too. I realize I'm rambling. I just really enjoy this character and this story, and it's exciting. So I like talking about it. Okay, rambling coming to an end. Thank you very much for watching this video. Again, hope you liked it. Let me know what you thought, and I'll see you around.